Welcome to the online lectures for information security. Today we'll be starting with the second part of the first unit, the need for security. Now, why we are studying need for security? Now we are studying the need for security so that we could understand the business needs of the information security. Can I understand what are the business needs for information security? That is, whenever you're working on a particular business, what are the different needs that you need to run in a particular organization? So that is why first thing is we are studying this so that you can identify the business needs of the organization. Then you're studying this also to understand the successful information security program. That is, what makes a information security program more successful, and who is responsible to make this program successful. Normally, the management is responsible for information security. Then the next part is we also study this to identify what are the threats to information security. Now, what is a threat? A threat is we can understand threat as a risk. What are the different risks that a particular organization might face if this particular threat, like what are the different consequences that this threat is going to face to the organization. Then upon when you study the threats, what are the different attacks that can happen based upon these threats that will be identified. That is why we're studying the need for security. Coming on to the first part, business needs. Now in here, whenever you're considering information security, business needs comes first, whereas any of the technology needs, they come at the last. So the first that comes are business needs. Now, information security performs four important functions of an organization. Protect the organization's ability to function. Now in here, this ability to function, that is the management is going to be responsible how they're going to make a best software that can be successful, that is going to provide you with the best security. Then enabling the safe operations of application, that is in here, the application that you're using to fulfill a particular task. In here, this particular application, how he is going to safeguard all the operation, that is each and every work that you're doing on this particular application, how you're going to secure all the transactions, that is going to be identified. Then protect the data and organization collects and uses, that is in here, all type of data that the organization is collecting and whatever it is using, you need to safeguard that. Then safeguarding the technology assets. What are assets? Asset is any information that can provide value, that is assets. So in here, these four we are going to study in detail, what are the different steps that are going to happen within each of these points. Coming on to the first one, protecting the ability to function. Now in here, in protecting the ability to function, now in here, we have already studied that management is responsible for the successful implementation of information security. Now in here, there are normally two types of management within a particular organization. You've got general management and you've got information technology management. So in here, both types of management are responsible for protecting the ability to function. These are the ones that are going to implement information security. Implement information security. The next one is information security is a management issue and it is also a people's issue. Now in here, we might consider that management issue, that information security, it is just the job of the IT people, but it is more of a job of the management. Now if we take an example, if suppose in a particular organization there is a person that is managing the payrolls of different employees. Now managing the payroll means how much salary they get, what are the different incentives, each of things are identified. Now here his work is managing the payroll, but his work is not doing the mathematical wage computations. So he is managing the entire wages of a particular person. So that is why it is a management issue. It has more to do with management. And it is also called as a people's issue. Now in here, people's issue, because in here it is called as people's issue as you're securing the entire business, the entire data that this particular organization has, it is also a people's issue. That is all the people that are working within an organization. So it becomes a people's issue. The next is communities of interest must argue for information security in terms of impact and cost. Now, within the communities of interest, we have studied, you've got information security management, information technology management, and what other managers, professionals. These are your communities of interest. 1, 2, 3, 4. So in here, these people might argue for information security in terms of the impact and cost. That as information security officer, he might only be concerned with the security. Whereas technology, the information technology manager, he'll be concerned with the technology that you're using. Manager is going to focus upon the overall security of the organization. So in here, each of them may have their own terms that how they want to achieve information security, but at the end, you're going to secure the entire organization. The next one is enabling safe operations. Now, enabling safe operations means whatever job you're doing, whatever transaction is being done, or whether you're storing the data, storage of data, each of the thing that you're doing, it should be safe. That is, it should be protected. Now in here, organization must create integrated, efficient, and capable applications. Now in here, integrated, efficient, capable applications, now you're embedding all these three things so that you can make the particular application secure. The next is organization needs environment that safeguard the application. Now in here, so you might be using encryption in here for safeguarding the application, but in here you should also have the environment so that you can secure these applications. Now an example for safeguarding your environment is you might have different operating system platforms. Then you might have different emails that you're using. Then instant messaging app that are used. So in here, all the different things that you're using for communication purpose, these all the things should be secure. This can be done either by outsourcing or building on their own. That is in here, the email service that you're using, it can be your own email service. That is, suppose employees that are working in Amazon, they're not using the Gmail, they're using their specific Microsoft accounts that is providing some personal encryption that the Amazon company is using. So you've got your Amazon email IDs. Then instant messaging apps, the way of communication that you're using, this app is specifically designed only for that specific users. So this instant messaging or video apps like this Amazon people, they use the Time app. Now this is only for Amazon users. So in here, you're creating an environment for your particular application so that you can enable safe operation, so that anything that you're communicating, it does not go out. It remains within the organization. The next is management must not abdicate to the IT department its responsibility to make choices and enforce decisions. That is in here, once you've got all the infrastructure in place, the management must understand that they should not just force the IT department or that you need to do this and that. This IT department, they've got their own reasons so that they can make decisions to safeguard the entire infrastructure or the entire organization. The next is protecting data. Now in here, protecting the data, this data, it can be the one that you're collecting or the one that you're storing. No matter what type of data is in here, you need to safeguard the data. Now in here, why we need to safeguard the data? Because if suppose this data is being lost, the organization loses its entire record of all the different transactions that are being done. That is how much payments were done for how many projects, or to whom they need to deliver the software. Each and everything that is being lost. So the main thing is to protect the data, protect the transactions or the valuable assets, valuable information. Then the next one is an effective information security program is essential to the protection of integrity and value of the organization's data. Now in here, no matter, as you have seen, as I've told that whether you're collecting or storing the data, it should be secure. You can say that whether the data is in a particular transaction, or you can say that data is in motion, or data is at rest. For both this type of scenarios, we need to implement a security program so that it protects the integrity. Now, what is integrity? Integrity means whatever data you've saved, it is going to keep the same format of data. That is, no editing rights are given to unauthorized people. So you're going to use a security program that is going to protect the integrity of data, whether you're within a transaction, that is when you're whenever you're working on a particular data, or you're not working on the data, that is data is just stored within an organization, a backup file. You need to secure both types of data because this data is of most value to the organization. The next one is safeguarding technology assets. Now, what are assets? Assets are any type of information that is going to provide value. Now, in here, an organization must have secure infrastructure, service based on the size and scope of the enterprise. Now, in here, if we take a particular example, for instance, a small business is there, they've just started. Now, they might communicate via email service. Now, in here, when they're communicating via email service, now this is a small organization that has just started, a startup, you can say. Now, this people are using email, so what they need to do, they need to have a secure infrastructure. That is, if suppose they might be using an encryption tool. This encryption tool is used to encrypt all the emails that you're sending. So in here, they are having an encryption tool for safeguarding their message. Now, if suppose this small business grows and it becomes a large business. Now, when it becomes a large business, they need to add more and more security programs based upon the growth. Now, they can have some public key infrastructure, some more encryption tools can be added. Based upon the growth and size of the organization, we implement security based upon the level that is required. So that is how you are going to safeguard the technology assets. Now, the second point that I've told, it is this one, more robust solution. That is, if the particular company grows, you need to provide more intact solution that is going to safeguard your organization from any type of attack or any type of threat. You might also replace some security program. That is, this encryption tool that you were previously using, you might update it with a more robust encryption tool. Or you can have this public key encryption, private key encryption placed within a particular organization. Now, coming on to the next topic, that is threats. Now, the definition of threat is, a threat is an object. It can be an object, person, or entity that represents a constant danger to an asset. Now, it can be any person, or it can be any file, any object, or any entity that is going to have a threat to the organization. Now, different types of threats mentioned in here. You've got spyware, hackers, viruses, lockups, identity theft, slow responses, worms, Trojan horses. These are all the threats. Now, in here, when a particular organization faces different types of threats, all of these threats need to be informed. Now, this management should know what are the different threats within an organization. Now, in here, this information should be given like based upon the different threats. Now, there are some specific threats, multiple threats are there. Now, these threats are going to be grouped into multiple categories. You're going to identify under what category these threats fall under. Now, when the management gets to know the different categories of threats, they might understand and they might put into place different policies or different programs so that you can reduce the risk to the particular organization. Now, and here, whenever you run a scan, whenever you run a virus scan onto your PC, you might have different categories, like you've got quarantine threats, or allowed it threats are there. There are different types of this. So based upon this category, it is going to identify what they need to do to safeguard the organization, that what action needs to be taken that will be identified, whether you're going to delete the files or you're going to quarantine those threats, that will be identified. Now in here, based upon this action can be implementing a particular policy, educating the people that are there within the organization, training can be given, and providing different technology controls. Now in here, the threat to a particular organization, it can also be a natural calamity. A storm, an earthquake, a tornado, that can also be a threat to the organization, entire infrastructure, or else a particular person can come steal some files. That is also a physical threat to the organization. This natural calamity, yes, and this person stealing the information, these are the type of physical threats, first one and second one. Now coming on to the different types of threats. Now in here, you've got in total 12 threats are there. Act of human error or failure. Examples are accidental employee mistakes, compromising intellectual property, that can be piracy, copyright, infringement. Deliberate act of espionage or trespass, that is unauthorized access. Deliberate acts of information extortion, blackmailing. Deliberate act of sabotage or vandalism, that is destruction of the system or information that is stored within a particular system. Then deliberate acts of theft, that is illegal confiscation of equipment or information, that is illegally obtaining the entire data. So in here, there in total 12 are there. So in here, we'll try to finish 6 of them in today's class. The other 6 we are going to study in the next class. So starting from the first one, act of human error. Act of human error or failure. Now in here, includes acts done without malicious intent. That is in here, it can be a particular person from the organization. It can be an employee or a person that is within the organization that you're working. Now in here, without malicious intent means he did not want to confiscate your data or did not want to steal your data, but due to some error, that data got corrupted. Now this can be caused by inexperienced novice users, that is he has got no idea or any information how to work on this particular type of data. Then improper training, he's not trained well enough how he is going to ensure the proper transaction to be done or how the files need to be stored. He does not have a good idea. So improper training, he's not completely trained. Incorrect assumptions means in here, there might be scenarios where you need to make decisions. So in here, your decisions are based on some incorrect assumptions. Then the other circumstances will be seeing those. The next point is employees are greatest threat to the information security. They are closest to the organization. Now in here, why are employees the greatest threat to the organization? Now in here, an employee within an organization, he can lead to different types of errors. Revelation of classified data. Now revelation of classified data in here means that is very important data that is important to the organization. So in here, he just by talking to some of his friend who does not belong to his organization but he's part of some rival organization, suppose he just by talking he just reveals some classified data. So based upon that, the rival company might take action or they might have some countermeasures. So revelation of classified data is one type of error. Then entry of erroneous data. Entry of erroneous data in here means you're making errors within the program, that is mistakes. You're not entering correct data, there might be a mistake, human errors. Then accidental deletion or modification of data. Now that is accidentally you might delete some data or modify some data where you did not have to modify, and suppose you have also saved the changes, then you might not be able to recover the integrity of the data. Then failure to protect information. So these are the different threats that a particular employee from the organization can face. Now in here, many of the threats that are posed by the employee, they can be prevented by implementing different controls. Now in here, this control can, now what we might be wondering, what are these different controls? Now in here, based upon this, we are going to identify if suppose you're implementing a particular procedure. Now this procedure can be simple or it can be a complex or critical command. So in here, you might have to enter some commands twice just to ensure that you are not wrong at the first time. Or the next one is whatever commands that you're issuing, these commands need to be verified by another person. So these are the threats that are imposed by the employee working in an organization and the controls that can be issued so that you can avoid such type of errors. Then there is one diagram that depicts the acts of human error or failure. Now this particular employee has accidentally deleted the only copy of a critical report. Now if suppose you have deleted the only one copy, then you have lost the entire hard work that you have done. Then there's a person who's a hacker or another person that is going to come to the organization and he is going to steal this information from the data. He's a convicted burglar. Some people might hire him or he might do on his own choice. The next is compromise to intellectual property. Now in here, what is intellectual property? Intellectual property is the ownership of ideas and controls over the tangible or virtual representation of those ideas. That is, within a particular company, you might have a person that has got a particular idea. Now that particular idea, that might benefit the organization. So what you need to do, you need to safeguard this particular idea so that no other organization makes use of this data. Now if suppose another organization also makes use of, they just hear from someone that you're working on a particular agenda and what are the different things that you're going to use in it, if they get an idea of it, then they might implement it first and then you are going to be in loss. So you need to protect even the ideas and how they are going to be represented. Not only the idea, not only the written part, but how the idea need to be represented. Many times you hear that it was a particular idea was some XYZ person, then some ABC person has used it. So that is intellectual property. Now compromises to intellectual property means this type of data can be captured by another person. So many organizations are in business to create intellectual properties. Now what are those intellectual properties? You can say the different examples. It can be trade secrets that you use, the copyrights, trademarks, patents that are used. Now we very well know what are trade secrets, copyrights, trademarks. What is patent? A patent is how you're going to give ownership or property rights to an inventor. Property rights to an inventor. Now, when you give property rights to an inventor, any benefits that they get from this particular patent, they are going to earn from that. Now, one of the effort that is used to combat these types of piracies is that you're going to you might have to online register the application that you're using. Now, many times you see when you open a particular application or you're using an online version, they ask you to register yourself on this particular application. Now, why they require this online registration? Now, this online registration they ask so that they can provide you with technical support. And they also ask you that your data, whenever you're using this particular app, it might be used so that you can prevent any type of errors that are happening within the data, or it can be used so that you can boost up the performance of the particular app. Now, many people, they also skip this step because you do not know, or a employee does not know what type of data is fetched from your computer and given to the software manufacturers. Now, the next one is compromise to intellectual property. Now, in here, what is compromise to intellectual property? Now, in here, most common IP breach involves software piracy. Now, what is software piracy? That is unlawful use or duplication of software. Now, many times a particular application, it has got its own license number. Whenever you install this particular application, you need to give in the license number. Even the Windows, the operating system that you're having, you need to put in the license number. Now, in here, many people, what they do, they use a pirated version. When they do not have this license number, they go for a pirated version. Now, within this pirated version, you do not need to enter the license number. But when you're using this pirated version, this is how you're attempting a compromise to intellectual property. That is, you're not giving the license number, any authorities, any number, you're not giving anything, but you're using a pirated version. The next is information enforcement of copyright has been attempted with technical security mechanism. That is, in here, what are copyrights? The content that is created by one organization, you cannot copy that content. You cannot use any part of that particular content that is being prepared. So there is also one common type of breach that is occurring to the intellectual properties. The next is desperate act of espionage and trespass. Now, in here, broad categories of breach of confidentiality. That is, what is, now this image gives you a clear picture of what is the deliberate act of espionage and trespass. That is, you are using, or you're just compromising the intellectual confidential property of a particular organization. Now, this is done by unauthorizedly accessing of information. That is, you're not an authorized user, but you pretend to be someone and you gather the information. Or you might pretend to be someone, or you might act as a hacker and hack all this information. The next is competitive intelligence versus espionage. That is, in here, if suppose a particular rival company is coming up with an idea, what you do is you do not make an idea of your own. You do not go for competitive intelligence, but you keep on stealing their own ideas every time software needs to be developed. Then the next is shoulder surfing can occur any place a person is accessing confidential information. Now, what a shoulder surfing means, when if suppose a particular person is habituated to work after his office hours in a coffee shop. So in here, a particular person gets an idea that this person is doing his work at a specific place at that specific time. What you do is you might actually just go near to that person and have all his login details. That is, you're not actually hacking anything, but what you're doing is you're just capturing the information. You're just seeing the information, all his login details. Now, once you get hand on this login details, you can access this confidential information, because many files are password protected. The next is controls implemented to mark the boundaries of an organization territory. That is, in here, you might also have different controls to the boundaries of an organization. Now, in here, if suppose a particular organization is there, now the different departments where you're going to ensure the information security, those access are given only to authorized people. So in here, if suppose an unauthorized person goes to some specific area, or he tries to use his security key that is given, so in here it will be given, it might display a message that you are not given access to the specific part of the organization. So it might give notice to the trespassers that are encroaching on the organization's cyberspace. Now in here, this is also done on physical ground as well as the cyberspace also. That is the online data. Then hackers use a skill fraud to steal the property of someone else. Now, as I've already mentioned, that many times the hackers can also make use of their skills or do fraud so that they can steal the information. Now, this is an example for shoulder surfing. Now, the shoulder surfing can also occur at ATM. That is, they might get to know your PIN code for transaction, or whenever you are entering any login details onto the computer, this can be seen by the hacker. This person is a hacker. Or now shoulder surfing, like you can say that these are different forms of shoulder surfing. The another person is peeking into the work that you're doing. Now coming on to hacker profiles. Now in here, the classical perpetrators of this act of trespassing, this is done by hackers. I've already told you the acts of trespass is done by hackers. Hackers are the person that is going to do that. Now in here, there are two types of hackers. You might have an expert hacker and you might have an unskilled hacker. Now this expert hacker, a modern hacker profile can be an age of 12 to 60, male or female, unknown background. That is, if you go for any background screening, you might not have any background of that particular person. Now in here, this person is going to have varying technological skill level. That is, he might be expert in different programming languages. Then he may be external or internal to the organization. That is, he might be working within an organization internally or externally. That is, in the daytime he is working as a security officer, and at the night time he might be working as a hacker. So that is how an expert hacker is going to look like. Then the next one is unskilled hacker. Now this unskilled hackers, they can be from the age of 13 to 18. Now these people are with limited parental supervision. That is, they spend more time on the internet. They might, now this expert hackers, they might also create some programs that are used to hack that are used to hack. So this unskilled hacker, they might make use of the programs that are made by these expert hackers, and they might use for hacking the computers. Now within many fictional accounts, these hackers are normally represented as heroes. But in real life, the life of a hacker is much mundane because he needs to spend more of the time to identify the different structures of the system that he's going to attack. Structure of system that he's going to attack on. You might need to identify, or you might need to be expert in some specific programming language, or how you're going to bypass the security. Each of the things need to be identified and studied. So it is just a dull, mundane life. Now here, as I've told you, that they're expert hackers and script kiddies. Now the another name for an unskilled hacker is script kiddies. So in here, expert hacker here might develop software scripts and codes that might be used for hacking a particular program. Now in here, this expert hacker, he might place this software codes where these unskilled people can find it. Now in here, when expert hacker is placing files on a specific area or dark web, wherever this novice users are going to have this code, there are also persons that is not only the unskilled hacker, but the different information security professionals may also get to know that particular file, and they might be used to protect the organization. That is, if this is the threat, if they know beforehand, you might get to know what are the different techniques that you need to put in place so that you can safeguard your organization. then he is usually a master of many skills. He might know different programming languages. Will often create an attack software and share it with others, as we've discussed. Script kiddies, these are hackers of limited skill. They do not have skill like an expert one. That is, he does not have access to all the programming language, or you're not an expert in one. And this person is going to use all the programs that are written by the expert hackers. And these script kiddies, they do not understand the system fully, because these expert hackers, they understand the entire system fully. They put in a lot of time and effort, as was in the previous slide. So that I told you that how they are going to identify the different structures of the program, the different policies, how you're going to crack the policies. Each of the thing is studied by the expert hacker, but the script kiddies, they do not have any information on all the things. Now, there are also two terms that are used for the different rule breakers, that is crackers and freakers. Now, these cracker, it is an individual who cracks or removes the protection designed to prevent unauthorized duplication. That is, in here, you get access into the system without completely exploiting the protection that is put in place. You can access the system without giving your credentials. The next are freakers. Now, these people hack the public telephone network so that you can make free calls or something like that. They can hack the public telephone network, or it can also be used so that you can capture information that is being transferred on a particular network. The next is information extortion. Now, this information extortion is an attacker or formerly trusted insider stealing information from a computer system and demanding compensation for its return or non-use. That is, in here, a particular person, he might be stealing your information from the computer. That is, you can say the most common one is the credit card number theft. People get to know your credit card numbers, or they get to know your passwords. Now, based upon this, when you identify their credit card numbers or passwords, now this can be used, like they can directly swipe your credit cards or make use of for transferring the different funds, or they can be used for blackmail. Now, for blackmail means your credit card numbers, theft passwords, or it can be your personal information, anything. This can be used on blackmail, that you need to pay upfront some particular amount, then only they are not going to use this particular information. The name itself speaks for information extortion. That is, illegally they are accessing your information, and that is used either for transferring the funds, that is using for themselves, or for blackmail. That is, in this blackmail, they can ask for money or any other thing. The most common in this is the credit card number fraud. The next one is sabotage or vandalism. Now, these are equally popular. Now, this sabotage and vandalism, these are done within groups. One person can also do it, or multiple people can make use of this. So, individual or groups who want to deliberately sabotage, that is, this is intentional. Intentionally, they are sabotaging the operations of a computer system or of a particular business. Now, these are done so that, again, you want to misuse the data or use it for yourself, or perform acts of vandalism to either destroy an asset or damage the image of the organization. That is, in here, you might either steal all the files and you might go, or you are going to destroy the file so that you can do harm to a particular organization. Now, this can be for revenge or the market race. Now, these threats can range from petty vandalism, that is from small misuse or small destruction of data, to an organized sabotage, that is completely destructing all the files of a particular organization by different types of threats and attacks that are associated with the different threats. Now, organizations rely on image, so web defacing can lead to dropping consumer confidence and sales. Now, sometimes what might happen is that you're not destroying, like these 2 points you're not doing. You're not destroying the data or you're not stealing any information, but what you're doing is you're just decrediting them, or you're just posting some wrong information about them on the internet. So it just becomes viral, and based upon this wrong information, many organizations might lose their customers. So this is also one type of sabotage. The next is rising threats of hacktivists, that is hackers, or cyber activity operation. Now these people are not known. This can be one particular person or different persons that is going to do this first and second point. That is, he might steal your information or he might destroy the information by sending some virus or threat to the computer. In here, within this hacktivists and cyber activity operation, the cyber terrorism is the most common one. Now, the cyber terrorism, this is the use of internet to conduct violence. Now, these violence, it can result in threatening a person or loss of life or any bodily harm. Now, there was a particular game that went viral. I guess the name was Blue Whale, where people were forced to do some specific tasks. So that is also a type of cyber terrorism. Now, this can also be done on any to achieve a particular image or destroying a particular person's image also. I've completed the 6 types of categories of threats. The remaining 6 will be studying within the next video.